podcast where three bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke, spelled with an L, and I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr.
Are you all right? It's Mr. Ben Errington.
And other co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello.
I hadn't written down my intro, and you'd think you'd know it after what
episode number
episodes.
Is this?
And I knew it, but there's just a part of me that kind of loses a bit of confidence. Like there's a little thing in my head that says, "You don't know what this is, do you?" And then it's just as soon as that niggles in there, I'm off the rails, and I don't know what's going. So yeah, how we doing?
Crazy. Very well. How are you? How's everybody?
Yeah, weird.
Yeah?
It's a weird time. Just around the house a lot. Napping.
As I said, this week was the first week I lost track of the days. Napping. Yeah, you got to squeeze the naps in more regularly than usual. Would you say?
Yeah. What time do you get up? Are you getting up later now because you don't have to go for work?
I started getting up earlier, but now I think I'm getting up on average between like 9:30. It's a little bit later. Yeah.
Do you go to bed? My voice keeps breaking. Do you go to bed late at night?
Do you go to bed? What time's your mum and dad? But you go to bed. I can stay out whenever I want. Yep.
Do you go to bed later then? Did you say? Than you normally would?
No, I don't think so. Around about the same time, I'd say.
Not feeling rebellious, like I ain't gonna get up in the morning. I'm gonna stay up till 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
I love sleep too much, man. Like I just get to a point and I go, oh, I definitely want to go to sleep now.
Yeah,
I never push. I never push past the point of tiredness. Get me in that bed.
Yeah.
Night.
Yeah, I've been drinking a lot more. I've noticed that. Not a lot, but like I just have a beer in the evening, quite a bit, just because.
I've been averaging about one extra.
I don't normally drink, certainly not like in the week. Back when we used to go out, like I used to only really drink when I went out to places. We used to have beer in the house for like when people came round, or just sometimes. But like quite
that
often,
sounded depressing
now,
when you said back when we used to go out, as if it's such a distant memory. Do you remember when we used to go out? Do you remember that?
It feels like ages for us though, because Karen was unwell quite early before. She got unwell before there was an official like lockdown. So then I self-isolated for 2 weeks because of that, when that was just the recommendation. And then my 2 weeks ended on the day that the lockdown came into effect officially. So I think we've been in the house for about a month, apart from those essential trips, which are always depressing because I like to Tesco.
You've got a good lockdown haircut though, Andy.
I have
to say.
Yeah, Karen did it. I was starting to look a bit ragged, so she's cut it, and I don't look like Joe Exotic, so doing all right.
Good.
Yeah,
you don't.
Good.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Obviously,
of
me and
growing
Luke are
mine
much
out.
more low maintenance.
I was thinking of growing mine out anyway, though, just because I shave it now. I'm not entirely sure what bits would grow back now, so it'd be interesting to see.
I've done that, Luke, and it never ends well. I've gone, I'm going to grow it out, and there's just like a weird period of a few weeks where you like look at the state of me, and then once it actually does eventually get to a point where you think it's growing out, you like look at the state of me, and then you just confidence gone. I mean, it might be different for you. I
don't know.
I hope.
I imagine I look like my dad. I've seen my dad with like longer hair, and it just kind of just out the back and sides and nowhere else. Bit of a Devon Townsend.
Well, a lot of people are rocking the old shaved head look in lockdown, aren't they?
Yeah, copying us.
A lot of people are doing that, and I think, copying us. Bloody get your own haircut. Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
I've been tempted then. You weren't tempted. Full head shave.
I shaved my hair, not off, not picked. I did it like really short once many years ago, like super short. But despite the fact I consider myself quite a nice person, I could see the old ladies like gripping their handbags a little bit tighter as you walk past them, and I couldn't deal with the social aspect of it, so I grew it back out.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough. Yeah, when you've got a shaved head like me and Luke, you do have to kind of keep up appearances and rob the occasional old woman just so that everyone knows what they're doing.
Make sure youths walking down the street opposite you won't make eye contact. If you do, you glare at them. Carry like a sock full of snooker balls with you just in case any ruckus kicks off.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. sock full of snooker balls.
Just a
Love
length of chain, like you're someone from Road Rash.
Road Rash, wow.
I'll do that anyway. I'll carry that anyway. You know, you never know when you got to lock up
When you
your
go out,
bike.
wallet, phone, length of chain.
I don't
Like
think
a
I've
chain.
heard the words
2x4.
Road Rash together in many, many years. Wow. I would have
Road
game.
Rash was an absolute
16-bit
classic.
games are, I think, my cultural point of reference for most things.
Yeah. Okay, so have we got any
Good times.
horror news, Ben?
We've got a couple of bits of horror news that I've seen. So a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the possibility of a Hellraiser remake. I think we had a few details, didn't we? But apparently, the filmmaking team behind a film called The Night House are reuniting to tackle the reimagining of the 1980s horror classic. So David Bruckner, who directed Night House and The Ritual, as well as sections of some horror anthologies like VHS and Southbound, will helm the feature, and the screenplay by Ben Collins and Luke Piotrowski. A Ben and Luke combo, Luke. See that?
There you go. That's a good combo.
There we
You're
go.
into it.
Like Greek yogurt and honey.
I'm into it. Exactly like Greek yogurt and gravel. Such a great. So, yes, obviously this has been knocked around for a while. How do you feel about the possibility of this, a remake? I mean,
Yeah,
sounds
good.
fine, doesn't it?
Well, David
Yeah.
Bruckner, his segment in VHS is the one with like the vampire succubus woman.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. That's like a really good one. Very good one. And
Yeah.
The Ritual, I thought the directing side of it especially was fantastic. And the creature design.
Yeah.
The kind of bits where, you know, the shop suddenly appears in the middle of the forest and there's a transition. I think if he could... Because the best thing about Hellraiser, the original, is the way a room will suddenly become a part of hell. Or like it... the geography of the rooms will change, or like walls will open up and that kind of thing. So I think if he can bring some of that into it, it'd be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. What else have we got? So apparently Evil Dead's Fede Alvarez is directing a pandemic-themed zombie horror called 16 States for Lionsgate. I haven't heard much more about it. You guys watched Evil Dead only a few days ago, right?
Yeah, we watched Fede Alvarez.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fede's
So yeah,
a brutal filmmaker. Like he just packs. So I mean, have you seen Don't Breathe? Which isn't. I don't think it hits the highs of the Evil Dead remake, but it's still got some fun, impactful moments. I didn't see the what was the film we did recently? He's like the girl with the hornets arsehole. Whatever the.
Oh yeah. What? Oh yeah. I didn't see that either. No. The girl with the girl who played with fire. Is that right? I don't know. I don't know. I can say anything and it sounds right. No,
The girl
I didn't
that
see
did an
either, so.
action.
Yeah.
The girl that add some shredded wheat.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the best one. The
Yeah.
girl
The
that adds some
scary
shredded
thing is
wheat.
you get it dry. No milk. Just
Oh,
down
that
it.
is absolute
Absolute
way.
madness.
throat like razor blades. So yeah, not much else about this, but apparently zombies, a mother trying to reach her family at the center of it. Sounds like it could be fun.
I mean, part of me is like zombies, but then you know the Resident Evil games have been fantastic. So maybe.
What a great segue. What a great segue. Next piece of news is there's a rumor that a remake of Resident Evil 4 is going to be worked on.
Oh yeah.
So obviously last week we discussed Resident Evil 8, and apparently some details had leaked for it. But apparently, is it M2, a dev team, co-dev?
The dev team
Is
that
it
did the
M2?
Resident Evil 2 remake, I forget their name.
Yeah.
I think it's similar to M2 if it
M2.
isn't.
Wait, did they not do
Yeah.
the number 3 remake?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, so it's
I
the
think it
same
was
same
both.
team doing all of the.
I think it's the same team who did
Okay.
2 and 3.
Yeah.
Or they were involved in both somehow. So apparently there are some rumors of this. Now, during the game, there are a couple of little Easter eggs that you come across that kind of might suggest that the next chapter of the game could take place in Europe or somewhere in Europe. And there's talk of like parasites as well, which is more linked to Resident Evil 4. So it would make sense to sort of take it in that next direction. And although a lot of people say, like, obviously Resident Evil 4 is pretty much perfect, it's like, well, Resident Evil 2 and 3 were pretty much perfect as well. It's just giving them that lick
Yeah.
of pain.
And
that
in my
extra.
mind, Resident Evil 4 is like pretty polished. But when I watched some footage of it, I was like, nah, you know, that could do with
Yeah.
that could be.
It is available on
re-engined.
pretty much every single games console that has existed since Resident Evil 4 came out. So
Yeah.
this should be pretty cool. You know, they might have to remove some things because in terms of the length of Resident Evil 2 and 3 in comparison to Resident Evil 4, it's kind of like Resident Evil 4 is probably what would you say, Andy? 4 or 5 times as long?
Yeah, it's a long game, and it works quite differently to those two as well. Because even though I think we were talking between the difference between 2 and 3 last week, 4 actually works it's when they shifted to an actual chapter system where there were like levels that you could complete. So there were shared maps, but there were also just areas of like, okay, this level is done now, and then you move on to the next area in cutscene, and there's not so much backtracking. So I mean, there are ways they could change it. I think I was talking to you off pod, Ben, weren't we? Like, I think other ways they could go. I think I think you could make a more significant and different remake that had more impact of Zero or Code Veronica, especially because that one's Code Veronica is, still all tank controls. But am I any less excited for this because of it? No. And to be honest, if they keep selling like they've been selling, they'll remake them all eventually anyway.
Yeah, man.
We'll be punching boulders in Africa before you know it.
Oh, yes. I'm pretty keen for a remake of Code Veronica and a remake of this. Some bits probably wouldn't work as well as they do like in this sort of the Resident Evil 2 and 3 universe, because Resident Evil 4 the game is a bit over the top. It's got some really over the top villain characters.
K-Troll.
Yeah, but I mean like villain characters, like Sadler and other characters like that. Whereas in Resident Evil, I guess 2 and 3 there aren't really. It's quite grounded in reality, isn't it? Whereas Resident Evil 4 just go a bit OTT.
I guess you could, depending on if they are looking to upset things and change things around, like in the same way they're doing with Resident Evil 8 and coming away from the series roots. You could arguably make a Resident Evil 4 revision that changes quite a lot, keeps the core elements, and then tries to tie it into a narrative, tries to take out some of those action elements and make it like a more oppressive horror feel.
Playing the game.
So Ben, you froze and you looked very thoughtful. Yeah.
you froze to me, and like your tongue was out, and you were thinking about something quite hard.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back.
Yeah. So whatever I said still stands, okay? And another piece of news is that the Human Centipede star Dieter Lazer has passed away. So the creepy doctor dude from the first Human Centipede, and I think he came back as a different character in Human Centipede 3. Unfortunately he passed away. It was revealed only sort of like this week, announced, sorry, but he did die on the February 29th, so a little while ago. Rest in peace. He's been in like 65 films as well. So quite an extensive filmography there.
Yeah.
What was your guys' thoughts on the Human Centipede? I know it's not one you've covered, but
I thought it was really gross, and in a sort of it was horrifying in the way that kind of film needed to be horrifying. I've seen a Serbian film as well, and I guess those kind of extreme horror kind of things get linked, but I think I prefer Human Centipede quite a bit to a Serbian film. It felt like it was, I don't know, dirty in a good way.
I feel like the concept of it was more popular than the actual film, wasn't it? Like, have you seen Human Centipede? You never guess what happens. And you sit down, you watch it, and you go, oh, okay.
It's one of those, isn't it, that I think it benefited from such a reputation from being controversial at the time that I'm sure there are any number of people who've never seen the film that will probably say, oh, this is the...
Well, they've probably seen the South Park episode. That's such a great take on it as well, when he hadn't read the terms and conditions on the iTunes page.
Yeah.
So you just get sewed into Human Centipede.
Cool. What else we got? Yeah, okay, that's it. That's all I got for news.
Cool, man.
Has anybody watched anything this week?
Well, yeah, me and Andy watched the Evil Dead remake in the Facebook group with a bunch of people. I think it was about 15 people, maybe, something like
Oh, nice.
And it was fun. I feel like it's a kind of a perfect film to have in that group watch environment because it's ludicrous in a sort of fun way. I really enjoy the little hints and the nods to the originals now. Like, you know, when she drops the necklace or that chain thing, and it makes the face, which the necklace did in the original one. And it's like there's the voice that you will die, like the others before you. Do you know that voice? Like it doesn't really suit this film, but I like that they put it in there anyway.
Wasn't there originally talk of them eventually linking the two together and have her meet? Was it in the series? Maybe they were thinking of doing it. I don't know the full details. There was talk of them putting the two together.
I think that would work. Also, I like the little Easter egg with the Drag Me to Hell demon is detailed in the Necronomicon as well. There's that one page.
Oh, right.
And it's for the goat-headed demon thing.
Old Lamia.
Yeah, Lamia, that's the one, yeah. Yeah, I love the Evil
cool.
Dead films and Drag Me to Hell, and I need to watch all of the series actually. I think I saw the first.
It's on Netflix now, right?
Yeah.
It's on there.
Is it on Netflix? Oh, right.
I think it's just on Netflix.
I didn't see all of it.
Months.
The first episode was
Sick.
cracking. It was really amazing. But yeah, I need to watch the rest of it. Yeah.
Anything else?
Watch The Elephant Man.
Okay.
Have you seen The Elephant Man?
No.
2-inch. I'm pretty sure I have, but a long time ago.
It's weird because I consider myself a huge David Lynch fan, and yet I've always put this off. I always was under the impression that it wasn't very Lynchian, and it's not for the most part, but it definitely has a lot of the David Lynch vibes to it. There's some weird, surreal sort of moments, but it's just a very sort of naturalistic drama. It's kind of horror in some ways, not in a sort of gory way or anything like that, but in the way the Elephant Man gets treated. But it's a very, very good film that it's one of those things that I think everyone should probably watch. It's a classic, I think. Yeah. What about you, Andy?
Nice.
Apart from the film of the week and Evil Dead, we've been starting to keep us from all going crazy while we're stuck at home. We've started some country themed nights with one of our friends. So we had Spanish night the other day, and so we all cooked Spanish food for dinner with what we could find in the house, and then we got movies, and like fools, they let me choose the film. So we watched Pan's Labyrinth.
Nice.
With friends that aren't necessarily horror adjacent, and I'd forgotten that. It's been a while since I last watched it, probably at least a good number of years now since I last sat and watched it, and still great, still a great movie. Karen's always a good barometer for me for how effective a film's horror is. She had to look away a couple of times.
The nose,
the beer bottle bit, and everything like that. But,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and
Pan's Labyrinth.
Jeremy Clarkson's Feast. Still a great movie. Yeah, nothing else. How about you, Ben?
I watched a couple of things this week. I watched The Platform, which Luke, you watched last week. I don't know. Did you watch this as well, Andy?
No. I should have picked it but it's in Spanish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Missed the trick there.
I won't go too much into it because I think we discussed it a bit last week, but I think it was a really good concept, and I think it was dealt with really well. I think some of the metaphors in the film were pretty heavy-handed, and other ones were far more subtle. I think I kind of liked that, but there was some it was pretty damn gruesome at times. Things were happening I didn't expect. A couple of laugh out loud moments as well. Maybe you're just laughing at the absurdity of certain situations, and but yeah. Definitely recommend this. I watched the subtitle version because I started watching it and it was dubbed. I just felt a bit dodgy. Feels a bit dodgy to me. So
what accents did the dubbed people have?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question actually. I can't remember. I think they were just American. I think you could change. Could you change the dubbed version?
What? Change the accents?
To get localized.
Change the accents. Hey, I want bloody Geordie accent. Why, hey man? I can't believe we're on platforms.
See, that would be great because I love sometimes when you get I think the best example you ever seen the Tony Jaa film Ong Bak, which is Thai, I guess. Have you ever seen the dubbed version of that?
think so.
All the guys are like from London, and it's so good. All of the so there's obviously like a guy speaking. He goes, "Get out of here, wanker!" Yeah, it's great.
Get out of here, you bloody tosspot.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Has anyone else watched anything else? Or
A couple more episodes of Swamp Thing. It's good. It's definitely falling into some of the sort of the TV traps that I don't really particularly enjoy.
How many episodes is it?
10, something like that. I like it when they do Swamp Thing as a seriously horrifying guy when he's fighting bad guys. But there was a scene I was like laughing because you know, like the Hulk, the original Hulk TV show with Lou Ferrigno. Sometimes when he appears onto a scene, like he'll like kind of burst up out of the ground, and it'll just be him slow mo land. Like he'll come like that, and it'll like land into the shot. Do you know what I mean? Well, he did that. Like he burst up through the floor and landed in between all these bad guys, and I was like, that was very cheesy.
That was Lou Ferrigno, mate. That was actually Lou Ferrigno.
Have you guys ever seen the original? It might not even be the original. Have you guys seen like the 1980 something like Swamp Thing movie?
I've seen YouTube clips and stuff. I've never watched it.
Where the villain takes the mutagen potion and becomes a rat that has a sword, and he fights him. I think with the Swamp Thing, like originally when I first heard it was in production, I think I would have gone in on it. But then knowing it was cancelled before it ever aired, and I believe they cut the series short by a couple of episodes as well, I was kind of like, well, do I get into this because at very least I'm going to be disappointed that if I like it, there's not going to be anymore. But hearing you talk about it, Luke, it's kind of tempted me.
I think I just watched the first couple of episodes, and just watch the first episode because it's got all of the sort of the Thing style body horror and all these like really brutal moments, and it's just I mean I was kind of amazed. There were moments in this where there's like vines like ripping out of this dead body and like animating the dead body. I was like, that would make a fucking fantastic like horror movie. Just that sort of concept. I think Splinter did something like that. I can't remember. I've not seen that film in a long time.
Splinter. It's been ages.
But
yeah.
Using that effect. Go on, sorry.
Are you guys of the right age to have watched the short-lived, I imagine, Swamp Thing cartoon?
Yeah, I used to watch the cartoon. Yeah.
With like a cover of Wild Thing, but it was Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah.
I believe it was Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
You are amazing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. 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 Something's cool. A cool character. I'm really enjoying the graphic novel series. Read the first couple of volumes so far. The Alan Moore run, I mean. Yeah, it's good.
Very nice. I also watched the Gretel and Hansel movie.
Yeah.
Which I think was made available on demand like this week or last week or some point. This was really good. I had pretty much zero expectation going into it, but it looks really nice. It sounds really nice. Like the script's pretty good. Dialogue's good. It's quite a unique take on the sort of Hansel and Gretel fairy tale. And again, another super gruesome one. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. This was
made by.
This was very good.
What's his name? Son. I can't remember his name. The guy.
Ross Perkins.
Yeah. Anthony Perkins' son.
Anthony Perkins' son. Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, but this looks. It's a bit odd in places, but I kind of like that. It's definitely got the Witch vibes, but maybe like a bit more of a glossy finish to it, if that makes sense at all.
I'd be interested to
watch
that.
Gloss instead of matte. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
They've got the Steinwood out. Really gone for it.
Yeah. And then last night I watched 12 Monkeys because it's been quite a few years since I've seen that, and I thought, deadly viral pathogen that wipes out 5 billion people on planet Earth. Yeah. Why not watch that and see what happens? This is like got to be one of the best time travel films.
Yeah, man.
It just does it. It just does it so well. Like there's none of that ridiculous butterfly effect crap or anything where you've changed this and now all this has happened. It's like it just feels really gritty and it's like a really grimy, dirty film.
I love
Brad Pitt's amazing.
The Bruce Willis in the future getting into his plastic wrap sort of looks. They're very Gilliam-esque looking stuff, but Yeah, I love all that stuff. And the music,
I think it's
really weird. And
the music, it's a weird like French.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's like a really, really underrated film. Like, it doesn't get talked about quite enough. I know there was a series, but I never actually did check that out. But yeah, this is a film. Like, the plot just unravels at such a nice, slow pace that, like, even though I've seen it like several times before, there were so many moments in it where I was like, oh yeah, and then this happens, and oh yeah, then that happens. It's a really like clever, it's a really clever film.
Final reveal moment of the guy in the wig and stuff. I think it's like a perfect bit of film. Like it's filmed beautifully. It's like revealed beautifully. It's it's.
I mean, you kind of see where it's going about halfway through the film. You can kind of appreciate what's going to happen, but there's so many tiny little details that are like slowly revealed, just to like further enforce the relationships between the characters as well. Where it's not just like two people thrust together and suddenly they're working together for a common goal. It's like you understand why they eventually trust each other, or why they eventually believe.
Yeah.
Why that Bruce Willis is from the future. Have you seen it, Andy?
Not for so many years, to the point where I think I first saw 12 Monkeys on VHS video cassette from rented it, and annoyingly I don't remember a lot of details from the middle, but I do remember the end, so I'll never get that first watch experience again.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, me and my mum like rented it on VHS, and I hated it. Because I was just like, what was that? That was bloody boring. What
no bloody monkeys in it.
There weren't even 12 of them. There were monkeys, but there were 12 of them. But yeah, it's obviously way too young to appreciate it. And then luckily, I think I went back to it like in my early 20s. And then it's definitely a favourite. It's a solid favourite of mine.
I think it's maybe Terry Gilliam's. Probably Terry Gilliam's like most logically consistent, accessible film. Yeah. Although Fisher King
definitely most accessible,
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah. So, anything else?
That's it from me.
Right. So, not the Final Destination, just Final Destination. We watched.
Yeah. So we watched Final Destination. So, Final Destination, year 2000, American supernatural horror film directed by James Wong, with a screenplay written by James Wong, Glen Morgan, and Jeffrey Reddick, based on a story by Reddick. That's convoluted, isn't it? Its first installment in the Final Destination film series, stars Devon Sawa, Ali Larter, Kerr Smith, and Tony Todd. And after a teenager has a terrifying vision of him and his friends dying in a plane crash, he prevents the accident, only to have death hunt them down one by one.
Yeah. So this on Rotten Tomatoes has got 35%, which I thought was shocking. User score is like 60%. Letterboxd it's 3 out of 5. I don't know. I mean, okay. So it doesn't look like a super high polished movie. It looks kind of like a TV movie to me in a lot of ways. But I think this deserves better than 35%.
Yeah. What were the critics thinking?
Yeah.
Bloody hacks.
It's a good idea. It's a good concept, and it's executed pretty well.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's a good concept that I guess came out when slashers were the sort of resurgence of slasher films was a few years in. So it was a.
Go on, sorry, mate.
So it was a good sort of spin on that, I guess. Spin on that. It was a good take
That's
on
what
that.
they said in the board meeting.
They said, "All right, Death's after them. All right, it's going to be Death." So I guess it's like the next logical step in terms of we got all these unkillable stalkers and serial killers. How about we go for Death himself? And you don't actually see him. He's just a weird fog.
He's a wind.
He's a wind.
Yeah.
A mild breeze.
I will say there's some like logical inconsistency. Like I don't know why. I mean, we'll go into it. So when Death is going to kill someone, like he comes in as a wind and like he murks things up. But then I don't know why he'd hide. So one of the deaths, he becomes like a liquid, and he sort of gets on the floor. And after the person's dead, the liquid kind of retreats. And I kind of feel like, why is he hiding his? No one's going to go. Hang on, Death
Arrest
arrest Death.
I mean, one of the things that I found, like they try to work out a pattern as well, which I kind of found so confusing. I was just like, what? I'm just trying to work out the logical
Sometimes
step
the clues
Death was taken.
They are such like you'd have to have such like not even lateral, like outside the box thinking for because that big owl. We'll get to the owl.
Get to the thing is, Def, right? He's got a pattern, and if the pattern gets messed up, he wants to stick to it, but not quite. He has a few little things he could do, and then and
he'll still give you a clue.
Yeah,
so he'll still give you a clue. So
this won't be. It might give you a hint to some trivia later on. But this was originally supposed to be an X-Files episode, or originally written as an X-Files episode, and I feel like it feels very much like an X-Files episode, and it would work as a fantastic X-Files episode. There's even 2 FBI agents who I do wonder if we're supposed to be Mulder and Scully.
But they're called something and Shrek instead.
There's a couple of really funny moments. Me and my fiance can't watch this, and we had to pause it and replayed one moment about 10 times. So there's a bit where the FBI agent is talking about Devon Sawa's character and said he gives me the creeps, and then one of them says to the other, "You know what? You give me the creeps." And it looks at him, and his eyes widen, and at the same time you hear a kettle boiling. It looks like he's boiling. I can't. I mean, you're just gonna have to go and watch it.
Is that when he pauses and goes, "For a second there, I almost believed him," and he's like, "You're a piece of work."
Yeah, and he says sometimes you give me the creeps, and like going back and watch this moment, and like you just see, it looks like he's getting, like he's wheezing, like a gas leak or something. It's funny. Okay, okay. So this film, we've got Devon Sawa, who plays a guy called Alex Browning. He's our main character. He is people might recognise him from Idle Hands, and then apparently he disappeared for a long time. I don't know if he had some problems or some issues. He was a teenage heartthrob, he says on his Twitter profile, and then isn't anymore.
He was in the Stan video playing the super fan. He was very like big, I guess, in the early 2000s, and like this film is definitely of that time. If this is like the year 2000 movie lightning caught in a bottle, this is it.
Yeah.
Ali Larter plays the Clear Rivers, who's a kind of a artist.
I thought she was Claire for
I
pretty much the whole film.
If you're gonna have someone called Clear, make sure everyone enunciates it properly. Because
Clear Rivers.
I was thinking of the villain from Hollyoaks, Claire.
Ali Larter.
Sean William Scott's in this as well, yeah.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah. I love Sean William Scott. Like, I know, like people like don't take him seriously because of Stifler, but Stifler was funny. But have you seen Goon? He's amazing in that.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Goon's good. Yeah.
I just think it's a good guy, good actor. Although he did give me some similar Stifler vibes in this.
Yeah,
it's quite weird because he kind of plays like the slightly wet thing that the angriest man in the world, Carter, kind of bullies for no reason.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like even in one of the opening scenes where you see Carter giving him some shit, and he like shoulders him, and I was like, Sean William Scott is, even where he's playing a nerd, he's wearing a big baggy t-shirt, but he is distinctly larger than you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That guy, is it Kerr Smith? Did you say?
Yeah.
Just looking at his picture now.
Character. I recognise him.
Look how. Yeah.
But I really don't. I think I even looked at like what he's been in, and I didn't recognise anything. So. So there's a lot of other characters. There's like a
Tony Todd who.
Tony Todd
plays Death, maybe. Who knows what that sort of character is supposed to be?
There's obviously loads of other kids
from
the school. Some teachers. Oh yeah, and then Tony Todd, who basically gets one scene of exposition and freaking the kids out when they don't ask him pretty much any questions that they probably should. They just go, "That was creepy, mate. That was creepy. What do we do? How do we survive this then? We bloody can't, mate."
Also, he says when they leave him, "We'll be seeing you very soon," or something like that. So that sounds like he's going to kill them.
Yeah. Devon Sawa isn't in the sequel, right? So obviously I didn't want to.
He's mentioned.
We won't.
Claire Rivers is mentioned. Oh, she is in the second one. Sorry,
she is in the second one.
I think,
do we explain why Devon Sawa's not in it?
They do. I remember them specifically saying in the second one that he's somewhere or something happened to him, but I can't remember.
There's two. We'll come to it at the end. There's two endings to this film, unless that spoils your trivia, Luke. There's an alternate ending on the DVD.
Okay, interesting. I've been interested in this. Yeah,
we'll come to it.
Also, the ending of the Final Destination, the last film in the franchise, loops back to this one, right?
Yes.
So it kind of closes the loop, sort of thing. Okay, so what we got? So we open with Alex, who is about to go on a trip to France with his school class. There's him and his two best mates, Bezzy mates. Who are they? There's
So one of them's called Todd, I think, Todd Wagner, and the other one is
it's his brother, Rod and Todd.
Rod and Todd.
Yeah. Kind of the place around here you can get Rod and Todd.
So yeah. Oh Jesus. So all the different classic school relationships are established pretty early on. You know, like I guess no one's really like a nerd in this, are they? They're kind of like they're
the in-betweeners.
Yeah, I guess they're the in-betweeners. Oh, in-betweeners. You've got like the jock. You've got like the pretty girls. You've got like the arty girl, and then you've got like two teachers, like a older man and a younger woman. Yeah, so all these relationships are kind of established early, and a lot of them are pretty much obliterated.
Yeah.
So I mean, the first maybe 15 minutes of the film is like them going to the airport, and it's and getting on the plane and going through the whole process, checking in and going for a pre-flight shit. But there's it's all like there's tons of omens, or there's things happening. So there's like his digital clock changes from 100 to 180. It's in flight 180. There's loads of like coincidences, like his seat number is the same as his birthday or something, 925.
Yeah.
A lot of things where, I mean, they wouldn't mean anything really, but they're just giving him a bad feeling, and it does a good job of indicating that it's giving him.
I completely forgot like what part was the premonition, what parts weren't. So I thought the whole intro of the film was a premonition until they were both having a pre-flight shit, and I thought this can't be part of the premonition. I mean, quite a detailed part of the premonition, wouldn't it? You'd be like, well, I had a premonition, I was gonna have a shit, and I need to go. So what does that tell you?
Yeah. So there's like the two teachers there as well.
Super threatening teacher as well, isn't it? I made a note of it. The first line from the younger teacher is, as they're going through the airport, the religious person comes up and says, "Oh, you know, death isn't the end," and she goes, "Will be for you, mate, if you don't leave my student." Like, literally, she threatens this guy not to kill him, but to rob him of an afterlife as well. So that is seriously killed.
Yeah, there's a lot of
kill
stuff
you
about
and then exercise you immediately.
There's so much little hints or nods towards death, like it's almost over the top. Like it's almost like someone could be shouting, "Death, you're deaf, mate!" Like it's just too much.
Are you deaf or something? Are you deaf or something? I'm feeling pretty grim, aren't you? I'm feeling grim. I'm feeling absolutely grim.
Yeah.
You reap what you sow, mate. You reap what you sow.
Yeah.
What are you listening to? Fear the Reaper? Yeah.
Oh yeah, the music that constantly plays when bad things are about to happen is John Denver, who died on an airplane apparently.
Like French.
I mean, bad taste, but you know.
So it's like all these kind of little things, and then he gets on the plane. He's getting very hot. He doesn't know why he's getting very hot.
I'm not sure. Are we meant to sort of write this off that he's also a nervous flyer? Is he? Because he talks about him not taking the tag off. He's quite superstitious. It shows because he's not going to take the little label off his dad's suitcase that he's borrowed. Is he also meant to be a nervous flyer?
I think so.
I don't think it comes across that he's like much. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So then there's
he swapped seats with somebody, didn't he?
Yeah.
He swapped seats
the
with
pretty
somebody,
girls in the class say, "Oh, will you swap places with me?" And he goes, "Yeah, right." And off he goes.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the premonition of the plane exploding in midair not long after it takes off is pretty brutal, right? There's people getting like sucked out of massive holes in the The
Yeah.
plane.
There's like a blood splatter against the wall effect. I don't know who got cut
Yeah.
or what happened to them, but you just see blood splash against the wall. It's really well done. It's genuine, because this is a fear I think everyone has.
Yeah.
Every time I get on a plane, I always sort of have to make peace with the fact that this may be the end. I have to accept everything I've done in my
Whenever
life.
Whenever the plane like drops just slightly,
Yeah.
my body just goes, "This is the end."
Yeah.
I might be like halfway through a conversation, but my body will just go, "Fuck, this is the end."
The thing that gets me specific about, and I remember not really being phased by this film when I watched it. I don't remember it really stuck with me, but watching it this time, maybe it's because I travel more.
Yeah.
I travel more on planes like these days, but the bit that got me is before it gets to that extreme where people are being slurped off out of the plane and things like that by the sky. But like the bit where it starts to really get rough and like bags are falling out of the overhead compartment. I've been on a flight where a case has come open and like it's fallen and things have fallen down at people, and it is horrible.
Yeah.
And
there's that flight attendant
that
saying, "It's okay," like mouthing it, everything's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite a harrowing scene.
Yeah.
And I think it holds up reasonably well. Like maybe if you want to be critical, you could say maybe the fire effect towards the end where he gets all frazzled.
I liked it.
Maybe that's dated a tiny bit, but I think it still holds up reasonably well. The whole thing.
Yeah. So he burns up in the plane. Everyone dies, and then he suddenly wakes up, and he's at the point where he was feeling hot in the seat like a little bit ago. So he freaks out. Says the plane's going to crash. Everyone get off.
He jumps up and he goes and grabs that little fold away table thing, which
broke in his vision.
It broke in his vision. So as soon as he sees that's happened, he's like, right, well, this ain't any old premonition, mate. This ain't any old vision. This is, I've predicted the future here. I'm gonna get off, and obviously things kick off between a few of the school kids. Like he's got like,
why does that guy punch him?
Carter, I'm pretty sure. I mean, mental health awareness wasn't what it is. Carter has a personality disorder, definitely. Because as soon as you've mildly inconvenienced me, Alex. Let me get on a fight with you on a plane. And like you guys say, I guess as well, at the time it was produced, airport security wasn't what it is nowadays either. So maybe in the late 90s, people had a punch up on a plane, and you just got a slap on the wrist for it. But but he doesn't hold back. He is mildly inconvenienced, and he gets into fisticuffs with him. So they get pulled off the plane as well, as does his friend who follows him off. Stifler just gets caught in the crossfire. Yeah.
It's like a random cross section of the class end up getting off, don't they? It's not anyone that are particularly linked to each other. Like Claire sort of just has a feeling. She's like, well, this is a bit dodgy, I'm getting off.
She just wanders off after the struggle, right? So everyone else gets dragged off the plane. Huh. And then she just, and then she just steps off like,
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a random cross section of people who do get off, but how many in total? Was it like 6 or 7 of them?
6 or 7,
maybe.
Both of the teachers get off.
Yeah,
and they let one back on, and then the teacher who stays, the Val Luton. Is that it? That sounds like, I think that's a wrestler. Something Luton. She says to the other one, "You go, because you'll enjoy it," or something. I don't know.
Go on.
You demonstrably speak French, so you should, because he's been showing off speaking his French.
Yeah, I like how sort of common tongue he gets very quickly after like all this sort of the shit is the fan. He goes back
because he has literally spoken French entirely. He's been like speaking to his French class in French about going to France, and then as soon as he's off the plane, he goes, "All right."
Oh, governor! Fucking hell, you mags.
Faking it.
So then, while they're all scrapping and saying, "What the fuck? Why we're not going to get our French holiday now? All this money I've wasted and all this stuff," and then the plane does explode in midair, and then so it did come true, and that's like kind of like the initial premise of all Final Destination movies. There's like an initial accident where people are able to get out. So the second one was a car pile up
Second one's a car pilot, and the reason to this day that I will never ever stay behind a truck with logs on it.
Yeah.
As soon as I see one, I safely overtake it.
The number 3 was a roller coaster, which from memory I've not seen in a long time, but I remember it being pretty brutal.
Roller coaster's rough.
The 4th one,
Destruction Derby.
Is that what it was?
So I've not seen the 4th one or the 5th one. I don't believe.
If there's a total of 5, 4 is a Destruction Derby, because at the end, after the premonition, the first person who escapes gets done, because when the explosion actually happens, a tyre flies out of the stadium and smashes them. Right. Death doesn't waste any time. And then the last one, if the final destination is the 5th one, and there's not 6, and I've not missed one, then it's a bridge.
I think the 4th one is the final destination. And the 5th one is just Final Destination 5, I think.
Really?
Possibly.
The 5th one I remember being all right. Well, not amazing, but I remember it all looked pretty well.
I feel like I've said it now, and I feel like that's wrong. Oh yeah. So the final destination is number 4, and Final Destination 5 is number 5. Just double checked.
The Final Destination Tokyo Drift.
2011 was the last one, so we haven't had one. We haven't had one since then.
Being premature. Nice, do you think it's due a comeback?
I think I heard somewhere they were maybe talking about it somewhere.
That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
It's a good concept. I think it could make a great, maybe not a TV show, but yeah, I'd like to watch another one. It's
a great excuse for some fairly amazing set pieces that you don't have to have much of a reason to pull off. Yeah. It's like you know what I reckon. Death is probably a huge fan of in these games, the character Death. I bet he loves a game of Mousetrap, because that's exactly what he does. Yeah. He sets up all the little bits, and then the little man jumps into the bathtub, and the little ball bearing comes down the chute. So they get off, and then we meet the 2 FBI agents. Everyone is massively ungrateful to begin with. They're like... they're sitting there in the waiting room. They have another punch up, and they have more arguments where everyone goes, "Oh, so how have you worked out this is going to happen?" And then Alex is sort of stunned and look, I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't cause it. People are looking at me like I caused it. Claire is on his side, and sort of says, "Look, he's not a witch." And then the FBI come in, send everyone home. And then I'm pretty sure it's pretty much a snap cut to a memorial service, right? Where they're remembering all the people at school that have died.
Yeah, so I think it's quite a while later. It's 39 days later, apparently. So they attended like this huge memorial service, but obviously a lot of people are looking at Alex as if, you know, A, he caused it somehow, or B, he's some kind of crazy supernatural freak who managed to predict it. No one's kind of like, "Oh, thanks for saving me, mate. I would have been bloody mincemeat back there."
I think our core guys are all treating him in different ways. So Carter believes he's in charge of his own destiny, and he won't accept that anyone else, that Death has a predetermined plan or anything like that. The teacher is just terrified of him. Stifler sees him as a sort of a way to keep him alive, or not even that. Like if he's going to pass,
he's like, if I ask this girl out, will I succeed?
Yeah. Clearasil. Clearasil. Did I say Claire? Claire, not Clearasil. Claire is she's like really thankful, and then and Todd,
his mate, sort of like, yeah, we'll be friends again, but right now my dad, who is a real piece of work, to be honest, is he doesn't want me to see you because obviously Rod's brother Todd, or the other way around, he died in the plane crash. So the dad is grieving for the fact that his other son has died, so he doesn't want him hanging out with Alex right now.
Yeah. But then, so we get Alex is like looking at the disaster books, or he's reading up on all these like previous. He's obsessed with it by this point, and he's seeing more and more omens. There's the owl. I didn't really understand the reference. I don't understand how you could link that to the fact that Todd was going to die. But then there's like a word. I
think that's what happens is the owl bashes into the window and he throws a magazine at the thing that chops up the paper that then comes and says Todd. I don't know how that gives him a clue as to I don't think it gives him a clue as to how he's going to die, but the owl is just a mechanism for him throwing the book.
Yeah. So Todd is he's trimming his nose hairs. So I like how they set these deaths up in Fire Station, because there's no actual killer. We don't know how they're going to die. We just know some chain of events is going to cause them to die. So they always lay out tons of maybes. Like he's got the nose scissors. He puts them down. He's like a piece of water will go towards his foot, and he'll just miss it or just walk away from it. There's tons of stuff that he lay.
So he plugs the radio in, right? He's messing with the iffy plug on the radio, and the water's coming towards his foot, and he goes, "This is iffy. I'll unplug that."
Yeah.
It is basically the movie version of the first 10 minutes of Casualty, isn't it? Where you're just looking for all the things that are eventually gonna probably cause someone, harm.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like that.
Maybe that should be the series you wanted, Luke. You could combine Casualty with Final Destination, all those setups with, I always clean my gun while it's loaded. It's the only way to really see where the dirt is.
Yeah. Oh, what is that in there? There's an extra bit of dirt in there. I'll pull the trigger and get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while Todd's brushing his teeth or something, there's a bit of blue water that comes out of the toilet and starts to follow him. I feel that's too heavy-handed. Maybe I think they were finding their feet with what Death, because I feel like it needs to all look very natural. Why would Death personify as the liquid and stuff? Because it turns left to follow him as if it's alive. I kind of feel like it would be way more natural.
Or it can turn right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got to turn left a few times. And then so what's his name gets in the bath? No, how does he? Oh,
he just slips. He slips on the water. It eventually gets him, right, and he slips.
There's like a wire that's going across. He's hanging up his dirty pants on it, and it wraps around his neck. And obviously, then he slips into the bath. And so there are quite a few little elements here to try and stop him. Obviously his feet are wet and sliding all over the bath.
He's kind of just choking himself to death. Spilt a bottle of matey or something in the bottom of the bath, so it's dead slippery, and he can't. He can't. He's slipping around on there, and then he's perilously close to reaching the nail scissors to try and cut himself free. Mm-hmm. But then, and his dad has fallen asleep because he's had too many grief beers.
Yeah,
and he's asleep with the TV on.
Gonna need a few more.
Yeah.
Although his dad does hold it together though, because Alex, having seen the magazine, has rushed to Todd's house. Clear is also outside. She is. I'm not sure how it explains that she was just there. She was
okay. So she feels what Alex is feeling, and there was a thing that I'd never noticed before, but when I watched it this time, there's something that happens where we realise that they're linked. Like when he's got a bad feeling, she feels the same thing. So she knows when
she gets a bad feeling, her tummy rumbles. She goes, something bad's going to happen.
I don't know what it was. There's a thing that happened, and I was like, I don't know, I can't remember. So Todd's eyes are getting all bloodshot and shit, and it's pretty horrific.
Yeah, it's another horrific death.
Horrific death. Yeah, but these they're nowhere near as gory as the films do get. This one is quite tame, really.
But
I think
Todd's eyes
do go. Todd's eyes do go really bloodshot, and it's pretty gruesome. Oh, my eyes.
Yeah,
I bet it's so frustrating as well. You'd probably be thinking while he was desperate to get out there, thinking, "Oh bloody hell, how's this gonna look?"
It's probably going through your head. You're going, this ain't a suicide.
At least he's thinking, oh god, at least I had my pants pulled up. Can you imagine if he just got off the toilet and they were also around his ankles? That'd have been embarrassing. I think he strangled wanked himself to death like people in the early 2000s did. Yeah.
Well, okay, so Def wants it to look like a suicide. That's why Def kind of pulled away. But I just don't understand why he would do that. Like, what does he care? He's like an elemental force, surely.
He must know as well. He must also know that if he kills everybody who escaped that plane, you must know that that's going to look dodgy. So I just
People are
go.
going to be onto him.
I'm just going to do loads of mental shit. I'm just going to go just fling a bloody meat cleaver at his head.
So we found the FBI agents. We found out what links all the murders together. Death.
Add him to he's already
get him in here. Get him in here. I'll good cop, bad cop.
With Death, surely, if Death has a design that we go into later on his books, on his spreadsheet that he's got, surely it would say these people all died in an accident. Now, if Todd is listed as suicide, his stats are out.
Yeah.
He's not recovering that.
His superiors are going to be fuming. Superiors are going to be fuming. Like, what is this?
You
look at the state of this.
You're one accident short here. The suicide's up. These aren't the targets.
No, that was an accident as well. Promise.
It just was thought as a suicide. So
I do wonder,
but yeah.
I mean, how in the writers' heads have they personified Death to the point where he is Tony Todd, and he's thinking these things through. Is he supposed to be plotting them, or?
It was almost like I kind of got the feeling that Tony Todd's character was just really familiar with death, like he'd experienced something similar to what Alex is going through in the past, and now he's like an expert on it. Now, rather than him being deaf, I mean, I don't know what you guys got.
I guess he kind of just, because of his job, he's a mortician, right? So maybe all morticians just know it's part of your onboarding when you start in your induction.
Yeah.
Right, Death does have a design, so obviously you're here to clean up for that. If you could be around after hours to occasionally freak out some kids that break in.
But I mean, Tony Todd is laying it on. He says stuff like, "I've been expecting you," and he's Alex. He knows his name and everything. It's I don't know. He's laying on a little bit thick.
Just appreciates the craft.
Yeah. So we're not long after Todd dies. Claire and Alex break into the mortuary to go and check his body out for some reason because they don't believe it's a suicide. I think.
That's it. He thinks it's suicide because outside the house, when they turn up, it's just as Todd's being rolled out, and this is where his dad really lays it on thick. And to be honest, a bit hypocritical. I made a note here. So Mr. Wagner, it's Todd's dad, he comes out and says, "Oh yeah, because Alex, you made Todd feel really guilty for being alive when his brother was dead. He killed himself because of you and your guilt." And I was like, all right, Mr. Wagner, hypocritical. Now trying to make someone else feel really guilty. Maybe when you're thinking about that finger you're pointing, think about them three pointing back at yourself, eh? Have a think about that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's in grief. You can't blame him for it. But you're right. Yeah. They don't agree that it was really a suicide. So they take the next logical step, which is to immediately break into the morticians and look at his body.
Everything that they do is so dodgy. Like if you were those two FBI agents, and you'd just be like, I don't know how, but these guys are behind all of this. They don't do anything to kind of defend that. They don't do anything to make themselves look innocent at all at any state. Not only have they got no evidence, but at the same time, it is mad.
They also don't
chill out, Alex.
They don't seem that bothered to see Todd's dead body on a slab with the embalming fluid shooter. Sticking out of his neck and stuff. They don't seem to even be that bothered at all.
They seem quite good. In fact, he has a little poetic moment where he's like, anything that made that my friend Todd is now gone. But I'm fine looking at his body, I guess. He just looks, but then he has it makes them jump because he waggles his arm about a little bit because of the chemicals, and that's when Tony Todd comes in and spooks him. Yeah.
So from Tony Todd, they learn that Death has a design, and they're going to figure it out and try and get over it or wiggle out of it. So I don't know who's next.
So it's Carter's girlfriend next, right?
Yeah. So they go to a cafe the next day to discuss everything that Tony Todd told them, and basically work out. Alex has obviously got all these different schemes. He loves a good scheme, doesn't he?
He's immediately gone completely mad, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's like, we could cheat Death if we look for the omens. So basically, if someone's going to die, I'll see the omens and then I'll run there and I'll stop it happening. So if I stop it happening, then I'll ruin Death's design and then we'll be all right in the end for some reason. I don't know. So obviously, when they're having this encounter, Carter drives by with his girlfriend and sees Alex and quickly turns around, nearly kills Stifler.
Yeah.
And so he's riding on his bike.
Billy Stifler. Yeah, he almost runs him over.
Yeah, almost runs him over, and sort of goes back, and obviously they all confront each other, and they're most of the survivors are together again.
Because the teacher nips out of the coffee shop, right? And then Carter weirdly flirts with her, and he stands within centimeters of her. Goes, "Oh, you're always my favorite, teacher." Which is a shame. And now you've got to move away because of this prick that saved my life, pointing at Alex.
Yeah. So the girlfriend
gets furious.
Just furious. He storms off. Well, Alex's omen for this was he saw a bus in the reflection of a window pass by, but it wasn't actually there. So he knew something was about to happen. So she steps in the front of the bus. I feel like this effect was used a lot around. I think once someone figured out there's a plug-in on the video editor for like getting hit by a bus mode or something. Like I feel like this was used a ton.
A plug-in.
There's like
an Instagram filter. Yeah.
Has anyone been hit by a bus yet? Well, no, they haven't actually. Get that filter powered up.
Yeah, powered up. Wind it up.
Wind it up. Wind it up.
Oh, it's an in-app purchase though. It's 69p.
Yeah.
Get your thumb on there. Get it bought.
So, what's Carter's girlfriend's name?
Terry.
Terry. Yeah, so she gets hit by a bus. What would you think at this point, right? So now, like one person dying after the plane crash, potential suicide. That's pretty crazy on its own. Now there's two.
Well, I'd be like, just randomly walk into the middle of the road.
Yeah, she did. Why did she randomly walk into the middle of the road? Why was the bus driving at 80 miles an hour along that residential?
There'll be some build up we haven't seen, like an orange. Like under the brake pedal, like on The Simpsons.
an orange feel. Oh, an orange. Like, oh no!
And he presses the brake and it squirts into his eye.
Yeah.
That's exactly what will have happened. All those things will have gone on.
Yeah, it takes a lot of planning for Def to get all these little things to line up right. And then when it does, I bet he's like there, like yes. Like he's running to it. Yeah.
It'd be a great video game you could make out of this. Like really obtuse things that you have to do to get people in the final destination.
I think that's Hitman. Basically the Hitman games.
You roll an orange down a bus and then wait for everything to unfold.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next bit is like Alex going super crazy and trying to work out the order. He's got like a what do you call it with all the seats in the
seating
plane?
plan.
Seating plan, yeah. he's got one of those plans with the seats, seating plan, yeah, okay. He's got one of them, and he's trying to work out the order of like the explosion, which meant the order that people were supposed to die, and then he works out that Miss Luton is next. So he rushes to her house to ensure her safety, but things have kind of already started going to shit in the most extreme way at her house. She's obviously packing up, getting ready to leave town because of everything that's happened and because Alex is freaking her out. He's just going to go knock on her door and say good evening to her, and that's going to make things better somehow.
He's going to burst in, trying not to get her killed.
Yeah. So when he's there, the FBI agents like pick him up straight away, don't they?
Yeah.
And take him away because he's checking her car for like, he's like, oh, the brakes all right, these tires okay, what's the tread like on these tires? Poking him, and they go, what are you doing, mate? And he's like, oh, just checking this. Inconspicuous.
Nothing suspicious. I was just making sure she was definitely not going to die. But they don't, for some reason, take his word for that.
I don't believe it. And the way Miss Luton dies is a bit. Try and remind me. She pours some water that goes onto.
So there's like a mug that cracks, or a glass that cracks.
She puts coffee in it and tips it away, and then puts vodka in it, or is it the other way around?
I think she ends up with the vodka in it. So it's like leaking, and it goes onto the computer. So that starts a fire. But there's obviously there's a whole a trail of vodka that's flammable vodka that leads up to I don't know. There's tons of stuff. There's the knives on the kitchen side. There's
and she put a tea towel on top of that.
Yeah. The liquid goes into a monitor, like a computer monitor, that explodes.
And some of the
screen, a shard of glass in it.
A shard of monitor in her neck.
Yeah. Shard of monitor in my neck.
Yeah.
You work with computers, Luke. How often do you see a monitor glass injury like that in your field?
Once a week.
Yeah, once or twice a week. It's covered under the warranty. So then, the fire sets up, blows up half of the house.
Alex is like out of. Basically, he gets released by the FBI. They question him for a little bit, and then he's like, he tries to convince them what's happening, but obviously they think he's a nutbox, so they just go, "Oh, just let him out. Just let him back out."
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Because obviously the FBI's headquarters is a short run from this teacher's house.
Yeah. He just sprints over there. It's around the corner.
And you're right. They let him know. They let him go because again the FBI base say, "Oh yeah, I know. There's no way you could have blown up the plane. I'm like, basically just say stop being weird.
Yeah.
And then let him go.
It's just so crazy. Would you not at least try and keep him?
Yeah, just keep
for
him.
A bit.
You get 24 hours. Kind of keep him for 24 hours and make sure no one dies. If anyone dies
mental
around
health
that
assessment
time,
at least because he is, running around poking people's tires. But they don't. They let him out.
You go straight back to Val Luton.
Is Val
Luton the wrestler's name? Val Luton. I feel like
Val Venus?
No, wait, Val Luton. That's who made Cat People? Wasn't the producer?
Oh, no wonder you remember.
It always comes back to cat people with you, Luke, doesn't it? Jesus, everything links back to cat people. How many degrees of separation?
Val Luton is a novelist, and he made 1940s horror movies.
Yeah, he produced the Cat People film. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, Alex pops into the house, sees her. Hello.
He pops in.
All right in here. Oh, bloody stinks of smoke.
Yeah. She's got knives sticking out of her chest, and he yanks it out. Oh no, he doesn't. He goes to, and then a chair topples on top of the knife, and
because she's only like 80% dead, having pulled the knife down because she's been burned and bloodied. She goes to pull a tea towel down to stifle the bleeding, but it pulls a carving knife into her chest, but not enough to kill her.
So complicated. Like Death's just gone right. The last one was too simple.
I think it's ridiculous.
This one has got to be. This one's got to be super ridiculous. He's like, well, I've got 500 different elements I've got to bring together and somehow make this woman die. Let's see what we can do.
And you're right. He hammers it like a stake in
Dracula's
Dracula's
nails.
heart.
Let's see what we can do. Yeah.
And then I guess his extra design here, while he made Todd's look like a suicide, he's basically framed Alex for her murder because he's got his hands on the bloody carving knife.
Yeah, well, so this is just like a little bonus for Death, where he's like, oh, you know what, I'm going to frame that little prick as well. He's trying to work out my design.
Yeah.
He's too close to the truth.
Yeah.
Trying to work out my design, are you? That is it. Framed.
So, as he runs out of the house and it blows up, Stifler's like riding by as well, so he sees him dead. Stifler doesn't seem that bothered about it, actually. It doesn't seem to.
What's going on in there? Don't worry about it, Stiff. Yeah. All right, don't worry about it. It's all right.
Yeah.
Is that knife? No.
So, somewhere around here, they all get together.
They all get together and are like driving round, don't they? And I guess
Alex runs off to live in the woods, right, for a little bit.
They all kind of believe him at this point because, well, there's a little bit before this where someone else dies. So yeah, they're all sort of having. They're all everyone believes him at this point, so they're saying, right, now who's next? And you're trying to explain who is next, but he doesn't actually say because he doesn't want to scare the person. And then because he wouldn't tell them, Carter stops the car on like some railroad tracks, where he's like, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna die on my own terms. I'm gonna fuck up Death's plan.
Yeah,
I'm gonna die on my own terms. And
Carter's an angry young man.
Carter's an angry young man, but this is again another convoluted plan of Death. So even though he waited 39 days from the crash to the first person he killed, now he's just bashing them out.
Yeah.
Minutes, probably not even an hour has passed since Miss Luton died. He's like, right, who's next? Here we go.
Yeah. I guess a lot of his work has been front-loaded, right? Because obviously he had to get that orange to grow to go onto the bus, get it in that kid's lunchbox to fall under the brakes. Now it's all going.
That was the long game. So obviously, as a train's coming, and then Carter decides, all right, I'll get out. I've made my point. I'll take the car off the train track. So I've made my point. And he can't start the car, and then obviously he gets locked in, and then his seatbelt's stuck. Doesn't Alex say he kind of saw something as well? Doesn't he say he saw the Saw the
He
seatbelt
sees
get
he
stuck.
sees the reflection of, and then he saw the seatbelt tear. So he also saw how to help him out.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the force that has he got like some sort of
He's got the force.
special power?
Yeah.
He's got the force. So yeah. So
Yeah, he's just like kind of clairvoyant, you could say.
Very good.
very good. Very good. Clairvoyant.
But yeah, he can see how he. So the whole thing is now he can see. He gets visions of how he can save people. So if he can do that, he can rescue them from death's design. So then everyone believes him and wants to help him. They think it skips Carter now. Oh no, Stifler dies as well.
Yeah, because by saving Carter, that was his go. So it moves to Stifler. So I'm guessing that Death sees a quick chance and goes, "There's a bit of metal there. I'll just wazz that at him," and he does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeets it. I think is the technology.
It's the modern term. Yeah, so he yeets that bit of metal and has most of his head off. It chops him like here, right?
Yeah.
Leaves
And he
his chin.
falls down like really falls down really disappointed to be dead. It's like, oh god, I'm really disappointed. I'm dead.
Can't be bothered to be alive.
And then Alex somehow works out now. He's right. If Death skipped Carter and moved on to Billy, then I'm next on the list because he works out that like when he switched seats. Isn't that right? He works out.
He works out later. Right now, he's like, "Oh, it's me next."
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he goes to like a cabin, and I don't know about you, but this cabin looks bloody dangerous. It doesn't look like the kind of cabin where like, oh, nothing will happen in here. It's like a room full of pillows and like candy canes. It's lovely in here.
This is maybe the most
junkiest cabin ever.
This is maybe the most ludicrous part of the film, I think, with him playing that crazy guy who's like scared of germs and like is putting like corks on every nail end and stuff, like childproofing it. I mean, it's a
couple of times where something happens, and doesn't something happen where something sharp like comes towards the door and he managed to like stop it?
Yeah.
And he goes, "Whoa, bloody had you there! You nearly had me."
Rusty eyes, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
you
just get cancer or something then. Like, surely Death would just be like, "All right, cancer it is."
All right, cancer, mate.
Well, you're right. You can oh, like heart thing, little tiny hole in your heart that's been there all the time that you just died of one day.
Well, it's aneurysm time, mate. Yeah.
And
but I guess if you're disappointed by that, I'd be like, "Oh, that's boring, though."
It's too easy. It's like the God mode. It's like a Tomb Raider cheat or something. Like
it's like a default death that he's got there, just as to press control something.
I feel like
Death
Death is
the stats. You've used all your heart attacks for this year, mate.
Yeah.
They're all accounted for.
Oh bloody hell!
Got any tumours? Nope. All gone. All out of tumours,
You've used all them. I'm afraid all you've got left is train metal.
And a bit of scrap metal shit lying on the floor there.
Or a loose electrical cable that's seems to have a life of its own.
You can kind of wiggle that around at someone, maybe.
Yeah. Who knows what'll happen?
I have got monitor explosion left. You can offer you that.
We've got two of them a year, though.
Yeah.
Special. So Alex managed to work out at some point while he's in his cabin. He goes, "Hang on a minute. What happened was I changed seats with those girls. So actually, in my premonition, it's not me who's next. It's Clear." And all this time, Death's just been biding his time, just waiting. So yeah, he goes. What does he do? He leaves.
Well, the FBI agents are hunting him down.
And they've just found the house, right? But they let him slyly canoe away.
It's about 28. Why did they send like 20 FBI agents after someone if they weren't serious about it? And like when he gets on the boat, they're like, "Oh well, like we just can't keep up with this guy."
They were like, "Well, I guess it's because they're not planning to like kill him. They just want to capture him. So they're like, "Oh, come back. We're trying to help you." And they go, "Oh, we'll go round the lake and wait for him to get there." Yeah, but they underestimate how fast he can canoe, and he gets there much quicker.
Looks like you're on the wrong side of the river.
Okay, I got all the horses. Yeah. Mate,
looks like I've got all the horses.
Yeah. Hey, Benny.
So
oh, man, that's a great film.
So pretty much straight away, Clear is like already up against it, isn't she? Like there's
in peril because that electrical cable bend that you mentioned has broken loose.
Electrical cables go ape shit. Her car is like leaking gas. there's like a swimming pool that like splits and fills up the yard, and it's almost like as soon as that, loads of shit going wrong.
The trellis starts coming loose. Like she's
not the trellis.
Yeah.
Ages to put up.
Like an explosive barrel lands under the car or something like that. Yeah, like it's
jar of turpentine tips all over a windscreen.
Death somewhere is just button mashing. That's what he's doing here. He's button mashing.
Come on.
Come on, die, you bitch.
Yeah.
It's like, why did I use all my tumours up? Come on,
come on! I got all the things going on.
But then Alex almost drowns in a puddle, but then he escapes because he gets stuck under a conifer for a minute in the woods, and then he almost drowns in a puddle.
That was so strange. I was like, what's happening? Like, it was really hard to work out what's happening. I think maybe, sometimes we're watching a film and you kind of like drift away from it in terms of, you start thinking about something else, how many eggs you got in the fridge. Like, if you keep them in the fridge. I mean, if you don't, then that's fine. But I think I was doing that. And then I looked back and I was like, what's going on there? It's just like a tree.
I guess Death was trying to go for a combo, right? Maybe he was thinking, if I can keep him almost drowned in this puddle until she dies, then you can drown seconds later, and I'll have got a tooth on this, and I can just wrap this up in a nice little bow.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, because Alex escapes with the power of turning his head sideways, and then
he must have had a vision. Yeah, it must have had a vision that if he turned his head sideways, he wouldn't
be in the water.
Yeah. He had a quick vision, and it was just neck muscles moving like that, and he went, "That's right."
You just remember the time many years ago when he turned his head. I could do it again.
When he learned front crawl, and that's how you do it. It's more efficient.
That's what they should have done. Like in Crawl, the film, where it's like it pictured it back to his swimming lessons. It should have had the same flashback moment of him learning how to front crawl. That's
how you do it.
Yeah.
So that's how he escapes, and he gets to Clear's house just in time.
He struggled to stomach saying that word.
Yeah, and then he gets there and he gives us some sage advice and says, "Look, I can save you. I can only hold on to this deadly electrical cable. No time to look for something else. I'm going to grab this cable, and then you can get out, but you're going to have to be quick." The FBI turn up just behind him and say, "Don't do that."
If the electrical cable kills him, he seems to think, right, that's it, we've won now for some reason, which is kind of strange. You kind of think, if Death's design means that he goes on to another person after he kills someone else, why would he go for the list and not go back? His logic just doesn't make sense. His logic at every stage.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so exactly. So
he grabs the cable.
He grabs the electrical cable. What happens then?
So she gets out and runs to safety, and then he is exploded away from the thing, but he's fine. He's all right with it.
And he seems to think that explosion was supposed to have killed him as well. So he's like, okay, so you beat Death clear because I helped you, and then I beat Death in turn because the explosion was supposed to kill me.
So that's all right. So then they, as far as they're concerned, that is the end. And then 6 months later...
Yeah, Death just has 6 months off. He's like, fuck,
I guess he's going to wait for all his...
6 months off.
He's going to wait for all his abilities to recharge.
Yeah,
because he's not paying for those. He's not paying for that premium. It's like basically his game is like one of those freemium games where I could wait for 6 months for all of these things to recharge, or I could pay some real money and get them again now. He says, I ain't getting involved in this. I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna switch it off.
I'll let these guys enjoy 6 months.
And Carter's got over his personality disorder and is actually quite
pretty medicated now.
Yeah. He's not a bad guy now.
He just needed his girlfriend to die. He needed his girlfriend to die. She was holding him back. Yeah. She was feeding him all these little things and just making him worse.
But he's all right with him now.
Biscuits.
And have Alex and Clear? They get together. They have a little kiss at one point in the film.
So early in the film, she calls him baby when he's like dead on the floor. So I think that means they're in a relationship. But I think there's a cut where there's more of a romance scene between them.
Did you notice something though? 6 months later, Clear and Alex both had blonde highlights in their hair, as if beat Death, mate. Right, let's get ourselves down to the salon.
That's really live. Highlights. Let's do something.
How long after that would you think you were fine? Like, because I'd be for weeks afterwards. Every time
I don't
something
think you'd
happened,
ever be
like,
the same again.
Whoa! Ah!
Yeah.
Every time you have a vision, you'd be like, I've had one of these before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had one of these premonitions before. I had a premonition where I was having a shit before.
Yeah.
But they go to Paris, and then Carter points out to them, "Oh, but no one say like I'm okay because you pulled me out the car. Clear's okay because you held the wire while she got out of the car, but no one saved you. So death might just be."
Has this not crossed his mind once in 6 months?
No,
Like-
but he got cured of the insanity with that electric shock he had.
Didn't he die? Didn't he?
And why-
His heart stopped though, right? So he did die. Did I
Maybe
make
that's
that up? I
it.
don't know. So I guess the medicine men brought him back to life like that when they defibrillated
the
him.
medicine, the medicine man. They got in a medicine man from Africa, and he sorted him out.
Okay, so he nearly gets hit by. Claire sees the reflection of the bus this time.
Yeah. So she's got premonition powers now. Alex starts to worry that maybe he sees something, like he sees, I don't know, like something falls over, like death is starting his game of Mousetrap again. So he says, "I'm going to go back to the hotel on my own. No one follow me." She calls him back, and he avoids being hit by a bus, which proves that Death's abilities have recharged because he's got bus smash again to use.
Yeah.
But she saves him, and then we're left with a delightful sting where Carter goes, "Oh, but if you're safe now, does that mean it goes back round?" And then just as we see a huge neon sign swinging towards him.
Yeah, it's a cool ending. What was the alternative ending?
The alternative ending is, I think it's been so many years now, I think there are 2 additional scenes. One where you actually see them get together, they have a bit of a smooch or something like that, and then in the alternative ending, I'm pulling this from memory, I've not read it recently, I think that he does die in the explosion, but in the one time they have sex, she gets pregnant, meaning he's technically cheated Death's design by the fact that there'll be a baby
who shouldn't have existed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Death's
That's interesting.
numbers will be well out. His supervisor is going to have words.
That's it. There's no going back from that.
Okay, so I've got some trivia, if you guys are up for it.
Always.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we've maybe sort of already done this, but number one, the story was originally the concept for an abandoned episode of what?
Is it the X-Files?
Degeneration.
The Files of X.
Yeah. But it's actually
Files of X.
This is a twofer though, two-parter. But that script was inspired by what 1984 horror movie?
1984 horror movie.
That, I'll be honest, I haven't seen, but I know of it, but I don't know how you can watch it.
No idea, mate.
About death and accidents.
Is it like...
I don't think you'll get it. It's a bit obscure, really. Do you want to have a guess? Just say some words. There's 2 words.
Masters of the Universe. Oh.
Yeah.
2 words.
Masters of the Universe.
Keith dies.
Yeah.
Keithman.
Yeah. And it...
Yeah?
Is it Mr. Bean?
Yes. There's a film called
Bean Strikes Back.
Soul Survivor, which is about the same concept. People avoid going on a plane, and the plane crashes, and then death comes after them. After that,
Jesus.
I've never seen it. I've seen the cover art, and I know people say it's a great film. But I've never seen a Blu-ray of it. I don't know
how did they get away with making. How did they get away with making this film then?
I don't know. Well, it's like 15 years later, so you can get away with it.
Oh, that's absolutely fine.
Number 2, at the start of the movie, Alex's clock changes from 1:00, as in 1 in the morning, to 1:80. How many days did it take to film that one moment of screen with the thing changing? How many days did it take to film?
Wait, so it goes from what? 1:00 to 1:80?
Did you not? So it's at the start of the film where it's like one of his premonitions. Well, it's not really premonition. He's asleep.
He's asleep.
But...
Yeah.
It's at 2 days. 2 days.
2 days. Okay, Andy.
3 days.
It took 5 days to film that 5-second bit of film.
Why?
And did it add much? Well, I don't think so.
But why?
4 of those 5 days were just the tech people saying there's no 80 minutes past 1. It'll just go to 2.
Well, we got to wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
They kept waiting for it to happen, and it didn't. And they went, "Something's wrong with this clock."
4 days.
This clock's...
We're gonna have to get someone to mess with the
Do you have a reason? Do you have a reason for that or not?
Don't know. What do you mean? Why? Technically, why? I don't know. Who knows? Actually, why? I have no idea.
Already explained.
Are you alright?
Because there's no 80 minutes past an hour. They've had to have built a clock.
I mean, they could have done some other stuff during those 5 days. Maybe they just wanted 5 days off. Anyway, so question number 3. Claire's cabin was also featured in another horror movie. Can you guess what that horror movie is? I'll give you one hint. It's got a big alligator in it.
Lake Placid.
Yeah. Well done.
Oh, we know our big monster movies.
That's too big a hint. That's too big a hint.
I didn't think you were going to get it.
Could have gone.
Well, I mean, I guess how many big alligator movies does? Okay, so number 4, the Chinese title of the film translates to: is it A, The Death God Comes, B, Death Today and Tomorrow, or C, Flight 180? So A, The Death God Comes, B, Death Today and Tomorrow, or C, Flight 180?
Please be A. Please.
Yeah, I want it to be A. I know Flight 180 wasn't that one of the original titles for the movie before it became Final Destination. So I'm going to say The Death God Comes because I want it to be that.
It is A, The Death God Comes.
Amazing.
Okay, so...
it's a good description of what happens.
Yeah. Number 5, in the opening scene, Devon Sawa was supposed to pretend to be asleep whilst they were filming, but he actually fell asleep. How long did he fall asleep for?
5 days.
Wait, we've got to finish this scene, mate.
That's why it took so long.
Because
He's asleep. We can't wake him. Never wake a sleeping movie star. Never wake a sleeping team heartthrob.
I'm gonna get a bit of nap. Can you wake me at 80 minutes past 1, please? And they go, yep. And 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. How long did he fall asleep for?
45 minutes.
Ben?
3 hours.
4 hours he fell asleep for. I know, they just didn't wake him up.
I feel like if I was on a movie set, my body would know and not be like go to deep sleep. My body would be like, fuck,
Yeah.
Do you reckon it was just like that was like the last take of it? All right, we'll get this one and then we'll go, and then everyone else just left. Like, perfect, you've nailed it.
Yeah.
See you all in the morning. Lovely. He wakes up and just the cleaners there.
Yeah. Well done. You got them all correct. Nice one, chaps. So
great.
So good at trivia.
We need to rate the movie. I'm a little unsure what I'm going to go for. I'll let one of you guys go first.
Go for Andy.
All right. You know what? I enjoyed this series, and this is the one that kicked off. It's actually more tense and more affecting than I thought, especially some of those opening scenes. There's fun to be had with this. I am going to shun the critics and their naysaying. Stick close to what the public gave for this. I'm going to give this a B-.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah. Ben?
Okay. So this film's got like a special place in my heart. It was a film I used to watch a lot back in the day. I think it's aged pretty well. Obviously some ridiculous moments, but I think overall, for like an effective early 2000s, I guess it's kind of like a slasher movie, but with a twist. Don't know why I shouted that. I think I'd go a little bit more than B minus. I think I'd go for a straight B, and it's kind of made me want to watch some of the others as well. So obviously I've not seen the Final Destination and Final Destination 5. Just giving me the hunger to go and sort of track those down and watch them.
5 was on Netflix last time I looked. Of course, now saying that, Death's Design will have made that no longer be on Netflix.
Yeah.
It will have just disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will have framed someone else for getting rid of it as well.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a straight B as well. It's a good film. I think it's cool. I think it. I like it. It does feel a bit TV at times, which isn't a bad thing. I also am kind of tempted to go and watch some of the sequels. I think I'm going to might stick number 2 on tonight.
Work your way through them. 2 is, I recall 2 being pretty damn good. There's a bit with a sheet of glass that's particularly effective.
That's probably like the most memorable Final Destination death for me. That's the one that kind of always sticks in my head.
Don't remember at all. I remember 3 more than 2. I think 3's one with like the sunbed and stuff, right? Or is that
which one? Yeah, 3's the one with the sunbed. And there's a bit a drive through with someone getting smashed with an engine. 4, I think the most memorable thing is there's a pool drain bit that's fairly dramatic, and 5 has some laser eye surgery that's quite harrowing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I sort of remember that. Yeah. Was there a nail gun?
There is a nail gun one. Yeah, I forget which one that's in, but there is a nail gun one.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll watch number 2 tonight and maybe work my way through the series because it's kind of fun.
Good times.
Cool. Okay.
Me too.
Next week, I don't know if we decided what we're doing yet.
No.
Plenty of time, I suppose.
Don't think we have decided now, so we'll work something out. We'll work it out, mate. We'll work it out.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, if you enjoyed this episode, become a patron over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovac Kalman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to the listeners. If you enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a rating and review in iTunes, and remember to hit subscribe. Thanks to everyone in the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors, and thanks to my co-hosts Ben and Andy for being right horror dudes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Luke.
Nice
Bye, everyone.
Bye.